Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Now, I hope you don't think I was being too flippant there at the start of the show, but I'm starting to get a bit fed up. It's a bit like when you have a friend, you know, who continually lets you down and sort of continually makes stories up about why they couldn't be somewhere to meet you, blah, whatever. You kind of, after a while, you just kind of go, do you know what? Let's not bother.
I don't think you were being too flippant at all. I just would question whether Boris Johnson is anyone's friend, even his own, because at the moment he's acting like his own worst enemy. This is such a weird, unforced error.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Chris Pincher, no one's heard of Chris Pincher out of Westminster. Unfortunately, his surname has made him, even if he hadn't done anything wrong, quite kind of memorable within Westminster. And it is a name that's carried a bit of a bad reputation since I was there, which was a very long time ago in the lobby. But Boris Johnson didn't need to get himself into this mess. He could quite easily have said, yes, I was aware of an issue way back whenever it was, 2018, when I was in the Foreign Office. And I looked into it and I knew it had been dealt with. And I took the view that on balance, he was still a suitable person for the role that I appointed him to. But instead, the Prime Minister has done what the Prime Minister absolutely always does and dissembled. And that's a generous way of putting it. Others might say he has told an untruth or even lied.
Yes.
And this is an absolute pattern of behaviour. And I think why this matters is not because this tells voters anything they didn't know. I think we now all know that we have a pathological liar as a Prime Minister. But because there surely comes a point when cabinet ministers like Dominic Raab, who had to come out onto the airwaves this morning, and others who have been doing it in the past 24, 48 hours, get truly fed up of giving the government's line, doing the loyal thing, and then being made a fool of because information comes out that shows they have got it wrong.
Well, exactly right. And as you say, I mean, he probably would have got kudos if he'd said, look, we looked into what had happened in the past and we thought we'd give, him a second chance. We just thought, Mr. Pincher had been in trouble before, but you shouldn't have to then mean that your career is over. And we decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. I now regret doing that because obviously he didn't keep his promise to me. And that would have been the end of it, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. But this is what happens all the time. I mean, it goes back to gold wallpaper gate. You know, how about just saying up front, look, I've got a new wife. She was demanding all sorts of ludicrous decorations for number 10. And I've got bigger things to worry about than whether Carrie wants a silk lampshade. And I probably messed it up. But, you know, time and again, what he does is kind of blusters his way out of it in a way that is quite easily and quickly dissected by very energetic journalists. That's what we're here to do. And it's a kind of something missing in the extremely otherwise impressive Boris Johnson brain that doesn't get that this happens each time you do this. So how about you just sort of give some version of what really happened? Yes.
Interestingly enough, there were noises yesterday coming out of various people in and around Downing Street. The Gitu Harry, who was his new kind of special advisor on the press side of things, is kind of out of his depth. He was his big mate when he was Mayor of London, and I've heard some fairly interesting tales of what the two of them used to get up to during the course of any working day, which we won't go into here. But, I think there's definitely a bit more of a kind of a let's all protect the Prime Minister thing going on, rather than when Dominic Cummings was there.
Well, I know Gito. I've known Gito for a very long time. He's not a friend, so I don't feel the need to sort of defend where defence isn't called for. He's a very smart operator, very experienced, and yes, he's mates with Boris. But I was actually only thinking this morning that Gitu Harry, who's been appointed to run the Prime Minister's communications, would privately be mortified by this mess and probably pretty angry. And I wonder how many such episodes he'll put up with. Now, he's fairly new in the job, but he's not a man who's desperate to be in Downing Street. He's had many, many big and important roles, and no director of communications likes to be put in a position where they're telling journalists one thing and then they're discovering that the version of events they've been given by the person with the highest office in the land is a false one. So I don't think that Gitu Harry will find this amusing whatsoever. I don't think that he'll be thinking, this is Boris, this is, my old mucker, and this is how we roll. I think he'll be pretty unimpressed by this. And I wouldn't imagine that it would take more than a couple more such episodes for him to consider his position.